Hey, good morning slash good afternoon. I think it's 11 o'clock, so I guess it's officially afternoon. So, coming here live to you today to talk to you. We had Ellie's birthday over the weekend, so I promised I would come on and share Ellie's birth story with you because that's a whole video in itself. I'm gonna give you a little backstory. Let's see, when we found out we were pregnant with Ellie, and then Danny had a co-worker, his wife, that they found out they were pregnant too about the same time. The kids actually ended up being born closer together than their due dates, and introduced me to like natural childbirth. So we started investigating on that, and our childbirth teacher was also a doula. So the beginning of the story starts with we hired a doula, and like I always tell you guys, I shoot you straight. I'm way too honest about everything. I just tell you how it is. I told her, we're hiring you so you can be there for my husband. I don't need you there. I need somebody there to be there for my husband so I can focus on what I'm supposed to be doing and give birth to a child. So all during the time, people were always telling me, you don't have to be a hero, you don't have to have natural childbirth. And I was like, but this is what I want to do. I've never had it. I can't tell you what it feels like, so I'm going to let you know. If it's too much, then I'll let you know, and we can do all the things to make it less painful. So Ellie's due date was the 29th, and I've already said in some stories that they always said, well, let's get your induction on the calendar. And I said, yes, we can put the induction on the calendar the day after she's born. That's which day I want to put the induction on the calendar. I literally never put an induction date on the calendar because that's what I kept telling them, and you can do that. It's all right. So I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for the 30th, if I made it to the 30th, just to go get checked out at the doctor. So I went to my doctor's appointment. I think it was at 1 or 2 o'clock on that Thursday. That part I have to remember. I'm sure it's in my calendar somewhere. But went to the doctor, and on the way there I started to have some contractions. Didn't really know they were contractions because I didn't know what they are. So I got to the doctor. They did my non-stress test. I'm not real big on being strapped to a machine and laying down. That was in my birth plan also. I'm not going to be laying down. I'm not going to be strapped. There's not going to be IVs. I'm not going to be attached to a bed or a table. So they did my little thing just to make sure how the baby was going. And I was like, I'm done with this. I'm in too much pain to be laying down here. I need to move around, move through all my pain of everything. So then they looked at me, and then they said, you could go over to the hospital, which is right across the street, if you want to, and they'll probably keep you because you're moving far enough along that they'll just keep you instead of sending you home. And so when I got done with the doctor's appointment, I told Danny, guess what we're doing? We're going home, because my plan was always to go to the hospital for the least amount of time. I wanted to birth at home. I probably would have had a home birth. That was a little stretch for my husband. So we met in the middle on I'm going to stay home as long as possible. So my mom and dad went to get something to eat for us to bring home, and we headed towards home. I got one piece of fruit ate and one chicken nugget from Chick-fil-A ate that day. I didn't have breakfast. That was going to be my lunch and that. So anyway, we're at home. Back labor started, which I'm going to let you know, it's not your favoriteest thing. Back labor doesn't come and go. It just stays there. At least it did for me. So then I was like, well, let's time these contractions. All these things we learned about. And he was like, well, is it over? I was like, well, let me know when I just make up a time for you, because they didn't stop. Maybe the ones in the front stopped, but the ones in the back never stopped. It was just one big giant thing. So we got the doula on the phone, and she was talking to everything and helping Danny and doing exactly what I needed her to do. Help Danny be calm and do all these things so I could get in the shower and bounce on my ball and do all the things that we had prepared for. And then somewhere during that time, I was like, none of this is giving me any relief from anything. So then the doula asked, like, let me hear your sound. And then they always said, like, when you have a very guttural animal instinct kind of sound that comes out of your voice, that's how you know you're more in labor, more in transition period, and things like that. And she was like, Danny, she has to go to the hospital now. So our doula actually beat us to the hospital, even though she lives farther away than us, got there before us. When I walked down to the garage to get in the car, we had the car seat already set up in our car, so I rode in my mom and dad's car because I needed to be able to lay down across the back seat, and I couldn't do that with the car seat in the back of our car. So did that. Somewhere between walking to my bedroom and walking downstairs, I went from transition to pushing. So I was pushing all the way to the hospital with kind of knowing, without knowing, but your body knows what to do. It really does. Like, I really got to experience, like, the body will do all the things that it needs to do. You're just kind of there helping it out, and you're kind of there for the ride, along for the ride. So my mom actually called 911 because she thought maybe I needed to go by ambulance to get there faster. But where I was going to deliver was in one county, and where we live is in another county. So she was explaining all the rules about if you get an ambulance in this county, you have to go to this hospital. If you get the ambulance on the county line, you can go to that hospital. And I was like, okay, interesting phone call. It was interesting, and actually connected to like the Bluetooth in Danny's car. So it was really interesting to have like all the phone calls going on while I was in the back seat pushing, and pushing was not bad. It was like, oh, this is way better than transition phase. So remember how I've told you in the past that it's always good to take the hospital tour? So when we were leaving, it was like after 6, we left at like 7 o'clock. So it was after hours kind of at the hospital. And the lady said, if you come at this time, you need to go to the main entrance circle drive, which is nowhere near labor and delivery, because then they'll be able to assist you. Well, we rolled in, takes about like 40-ish minutes. I don't know exactly how many minutes it took. I'm sure we got there faster as opposed to slower. And Danny got out of his car. I was getting out of mom and dad's car, and he told the security guard, hey, my wife is having a baby. And I love it. The security guard must have my personality. He was like, sir, I hear that a lot. And then I got out, and I kind of fell to my knees a little bit, and he was like, oh, she really is having a baby. And I was laying there. He got me a wheelchair, and I was like, oh my gosh, why is this, if you get like fake leather, it has little rips. You've ever went to a restaurant booth, it's all ripped up. And I was like, why is their wheelchair so like tore up? And I was like, and I kept rubbing underneath myself going, why is this not level? Because I had never really ever went to the part of labor where I was like, oh, today I'm having a baby. My brain never really went there. Well, the reason why the wheelchair wasn't broken, it was because Ellie's head was there, and I was not able to sit down properly because I got there with Ellie's head hanging out. All the men are going to love this video. But that's why I couldn't sit down. That's how that security guard knew that I was really in labor. I wasn't just like, oh, I'm here and I'm having some contractions. So he helped us with the magical key to go closer to labor and delivery, to get me in there and up the elevator the fastest. Got in, nurses said wonderful things. Oh, is this your first baby? Yes. Oh, you can't possibly be in labor. I was like, this security guard, see this guy right here behind me? He knows that there's a head hanging out of me, and you are trying to tell me that my baby can't be coming right now. So anyway, they got me into this first room that they had prepared for somebody else that had called ahead. So I took the room, so sorry for whoever that was. And they got me all set up, and then the nurse says, we need her ID and insurance card. And Danny said, okay, let me go get it from the car. So he went and did that. I had already pre-registered. He was with me when we pre-registered. They had my insurance card. They had all of my things. I just needed to show up and have a baby on whatever day I was supposed to have a baby. So Danny went to find the car. Remember, we went in through the secret entrance because all the doors are locked, to find my insurance card and my purse, which may have not even been, it probably was in my mom and dad's car, not in our car, because I remember having my cell phone with me. He was wandering around. So remember, back to that doula we hired. She called him and said, Danny, if you would like to see your baby born, you need to come up here right now. So let's say, I think we arrived at like 8-ish by the time we got up to the room. Ellie was born at 8:43, so we were there for 43 minutes. The security guard was in there, the nurse was in there, my midwife was in there, my mom and dad ended up in the room together. We had everybody in there, but the father of the baby was not there. So luckily Danny came in enough time to see Ellie born, which I stopped pushing to wait for him, which means Ellie went back up a little bit more and I had to push her back down to where she was. So that was really there. Like, it was literally like 10 minutes at the hospital and 33 minutes of trying to find where Danny was, getting my ID and my insurance card. So remember those favorite words I said again, when somebody tells you something, just tell them no, or I'll find them afterwards. Because like literally I birthed Ellie. We didn't even have our cord blood kit out of the car. Luckily they had another one, or Danny was going to go get it too. I filled out all my other paperwork they wanted me to fill out for my baby after the delivery. And you know what? It's all right. You can do that. Things can be done backwards. That's why we were pre-registered. I went on the thing. I knew what we were doing. And it's all right to do things backwards. Like, you don't have to stop having your baby to fill out some paperwork about your baby. Just keep saying no until you have your baby of things, and then you can fill out all the paperwork. Just tell them, no, we're not doing anything. And then when you're all done laboring the baby, you can tell them, no, I'm not doing this. No, we don't want this. No, we don't want this. Yes, we could do this. No, we don't want to do this and that. So that is how the security guard, whatever his name is, I don't even know his name, ended up in my delivery room. Everybody ended up in our delivery room because we got there quickly, which is interesting because I had prayed for, I wanted it could be as intense as it needed to be. It just needed to be quicker. So remember I said I had doctor's appointment at 2 and we drove there. So like from, what are we at? 1 o'clock-ish maybe to 8:43. So I had 7 hours and 43 minutes of anything. No, because before I only had very few Braxton Hicks contractions, but so anything. So 7 hours and 43 minutes. I think I call that quick and painful, because I can do quick and painful things. I can't do long and drawn out painful things. That doesn't work very well for me. So it was fun that I always get to tell Ellie the story that the security guard for the hospital was in her delivery room, and then her grandma and grandpa ended up in there too, which makes it always a fun thing. I feel like my dad was traumatized that day from driving me to the hospital and ending up in the labor and delivery room. So that is Ellie's birth story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell because it's just like she almost was born on the side of the road. She could have fell out at the circle drive of the hospital because once you get the head out, everything else just comes out with it. So it was very interesting to see that. I thought there was a broken wheelchair at the hospital, but it was really just my Ellie trying to make her grand entrance. So love you guys. I'll be here again on Friday telling you some more fun stories. Bye.